with the end in mind. So I know what the end looks like. It's my job to be able to take employees today and show them what 2011 looks like and get them to align. And that vision statement is such a powerful document because everybody understands what you're working towards, right? When you've got 35 people, 42 people, 100 people, all going in the same direction, all pushing for that same goal, the likelihood of you achieving it is so much greater. When Lance Armstrong wins the Tour de France 7 years in a row, it's not one guy, right? He's got a team of 100 people who each have their little parts that contribute to their success. And when one of them misses and one of them's off cue and one of them doesn't align, he doesn't win, right? So you need to understand that you are going to play a very integral part of a company's vision, assuming they have a vision, to make sure that their vision aligns with your vision, because you're going to spend a lot of time going to a destination that you may not want to be at. So vision was really important. And at the time, some people bought it, some people didn't, and that's okay. It's okay, they chose to do something else, and we were happy with that, because there's no point in you doing something that you don't believe in for the next 2 or 3 years for a paycheck. You'll get paid, you're Laurier grads. You're the best of the bunch out there. Or will be Laurier grads. Oh, and by the way, we always hire lots of Laurier grads. We're the highest percentage of Laurier grads for a big company, by the way. What else? Actually, let me talk about that, the connection. I told you, the things that I learned at Laurier, I learned more outside the classroom than I did inside the classrooms. Things like communicating, things like relationship building. Those are things that you learn outside the classroom. Things like Jaeger bombs or whatever it's going to take to be successful. It's really important at other words that you can do these things. You learn outside of the classroom. And don't leave that. Don't just think that the university experience is just what you do here. What you do here is really important, but what you do out there is really important as well too. And it was actually Zach that reminded me of that. Young Zach has been with us for 4 months. He's a graduate of Queen's. Don't hold that against him. He could have gone to Laurier. How about that? He's an honorary Laurier. But he came to our retreat, and we were kind of talking about it, like, hey Zach, I'm glad you joined the company. What do you think? How's it so far? And he's like, dude, I love this. And we're sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning. We're hammered. I'm going into probably a little more detail, and we're having a great time. And I'm like, so what is it about it that you love? And he's like, all of my other friends, he's an engineer, went into engineering companies, and they're doing sort of corporate jobs, and they don't love what they're doing, and they're the bottom of the totem pole, and there's just not really that exciting. He's like, but for me, this feels like Queen's. So I'm like, wait a second, this feels like, okay, insert Queen's to Laurier, and now it's relevant to all of us. I'm like, this does feel like Laurier. This is what I did at Laurier, and I just kept doing it because I loved doing it at Laurier. So if you ever come to our company, you'll see that a lot of the elements, or a lot of the things that I loved about what Laurier was about, the school spirit, that big family, camaraderie, the desire to be here. I mean, people who came to Laurier could probably went to any other school. People who work at I Love Rewards have options. They could probably work at most companies. But there's so many elements of the things that I got here that exist there. We are a learning organization. We have I Love Rewards University. It's a 4-year program. We have a goal in 5 years from now of where we want to achieve. Just like each of you, you know what graduation day looks like. You know the journey that you have to take. You know about the late nights and the blood, sweat, and tears you're going to have to put into it. Well, if we can mimic that in a company and have all of us aligned to a common goal of building a billion-dollar business and the most successful loyalty company in the world, now you've got smart people who are all engaged in having fun, building a great company, building a great culture, and developing and learning along the way. And you're going to attract more people that are like that, because we know we need tons more people to get through our journey. So if you ever come to the I Love Rewards, which you again are all invited to, you'll see that it's very Laurier-like. So that's the end of my official presentation. I'm going to go into a little slideshow that kind of shows you just some pictures of this past year. And I'm going to totally open it up for questions in terms of what we want to do. If you're passionate about social responsibility, then do that. If you're passionate about celebrating success or public relations, do that. Because it forces you to use a different part of your mind and work with different teams at our companies. And we think that that's going to help you develop and see the business as a more holistic thing than Zach, who just might do programming all day. So it's something that we think is important. There's been best practices and companies like Google have done it. And things like that we incorporate into it. So, I don't want to leave the message of, just have fun, everything will work out, all your passion and stuff. What we're doing with our little formula has actually yielded some pretty amazing results, and I'm going to share some of those with you. In the past year, the last 365 days, I Love Rewards has grown our revenue by 350%. We went from 12 staff to 35 staff. We have moved from an 1,800 square foot office in a really sketchy part of town to a beautiful 8,000 square foot office in Liberty Village, just off of King West in downtown Toronto. We have opened up a Manhattan office in Union Square, those of you who know Manhattan, that looks and feels just like our I Love Rewards office in Toronto. Our culture is so important to us that when you go into any I Love Rewards office around the world, there's only 2 right now, so there'll be more, it'll look and feel the same way. Every day New York calls into Toronto, and to the point meetings, you know, go via conference call, or actually moving that to a web conferencing, and you'll see that every single day. Duplicating the culture was my most important objective when we opened up the New York office.